Hi, everybody. This is Rachel Silber, and I'm going to be reading out loud with you today, Chapter 8 of this phenomenal book, Salon Des Femmes. Love this book. Love the teleseries that it was based on. This is a series of conversations between Gary and some courageous, amazing, beautiful ladies that joined him for a teleseminar, teleclass, whatever, a few years ago, and it was transcribed and put together into this book. And today I'm reading chapter 8, Creating Peace Instead of War. Things don't change in this reality because we're battling against what is, as though that is going to create peace. I want you to understand that the way it's currently on our planet creates a problem. As long as we keep men's and women's roles reversed, we keep conflict in existence. It's Gary. Hello, ladies. The reversal of men's and women's roles. I'm going to talk about the fact that on this planet, women are supposed to be the peacemakers and men are supposed to be the warriors, when it's really the other way around. The roles are reversed. Actually, women are the warriors and men are the peacemakers. Men have been taught that they're supposed to be the aggressors. They're supposed to go to work and they're supposed to die in front of the cannon. Things are screwed up on this planet because we have men trying to battle for peace. Through our entire history, we've done war to create peace. If we wish to create peace instead of war and we had women battling for future, we would be in a much better place. If you're inventing a womanly reality, would you destroy things to create the future? Or would you create something different? You would create something different. You would not battle against something. You would battle for the future. Things don't change in this reality because we're battling against what is, as though that is what's going to create peace. I want you to understand the way it currently is on our planet creates a problem. As long as we keep men's and women's roles reversed, we keep conflict in existence. You have to start looking from a different place. What stupidity are you using to create the invention of the womanly reality you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What stupidity are you using to create the invention of the manly reality you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pock, pod, shorts, boys and beyonds. The reversal of manly and womanly roles puts you in a constant state of conflict with what is actually true for you, which means you have to look for approval from somebody else. You have to invent who or what you are instead of being who or what you are. You have to pay attention to whether other people see you, because if they see you, maybe you can see you. Except that doesn't really work. Seeing anything is an invention. What stupidity are you using to create the invention of the womanly reality you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pock, pod, shorts, boys and beyonds. What stupidity are you using to create the invention of the manly reality you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. Salon participant. While I was growing up, I had a sense of who men were. They were the professor. They had a future in terms of being a professor and giving papers. The women had almost no identity. They were just professors' wives, and they didn't have a future. Your battle is for creating a future, Gary. Well, the women did have futures, but their future was predicated on their husbands. You probably didn't notice this at the time, but I noticed later in my life that women did have a job and they would go to battle against other people rather than going to battle to create a future. Unfortunately, that's the way people function. It's not the best choice, but currently that's what they're choosing. If you ladies would recognize that your battle is for creating a future, not battling against anyone, you might stop battling against each other. That's been one of the hardest things. People battling against each other. Wait a minute, this woman's not your enemy, but you've made her your enemy. Is that because she's a bitch and you are not? Salon participant. Exactly. Gary, so let's get real here. We're all bitches and we're all bastards. We're all assholes. Why don't we look at what is rather than what someone says has to be? That's the place that has to change. If you ladies start battling to create the future instead of battling against what is, this world can change. You have the ability to do that. Salon participant, can you help me with this? What will creating a future look like? In Australia, I often experience the blokey thing, the man's world thing, where there's harshness and an inability to allow gentleness and kindness. I think women act like shielders and take on a beingness to match it. I think when we allow softness and kindness and gentleness, it scares people and threatens them. Gary, does that scare them or does it threaten their reality? Becoming the warrior woman. If you're trying to be gentle, you threaten their reality. If you started to battle for creating a future, you'd be willing to battle for what would actually be the future, which would mean that instead of becoming the shielder, you would become the warrior woman. You'd say things like, say that again, asshole, and I will cut those testicles right off. Salon participant, is that what you do? Gary, yes, that's what you do if you're willing to battle for creating a different reality. Why don't you be you instead of being the sensitive being you're trying to be? It's saying what is instead of fighting against. I talked with a lady who said, I want to tell people what is up front. That's not what you need to do. You don't want to tell people what is up front. Warriors wait for the right moment to insert the knife that will create an opening for a different possibility as the future. You think you have to be aggressive or something that isn't a necessity. Battling for something is different than battling against something. Right now, most of you are trying to battle against the animosity that exists between men and women because there are few men who appreciate women and few women who appreciate men. Does that make what's happening right or wrong? Or does that create an opening for a different possibility? Salon participant. Gary, explain what you mean when you say that will create an opening for a different possibility. What would that look like? How would you do that? Gary, if you were to appreciate your lazy son for being the lazy bum he is, you would just sit down and have a quiet nap. Would that change your relationship with him? Salon participant, abso-fucking-lutely. Actually, that was my edit. It just says absolutely. That would change everything. Gary, that's the place where you wait for the opening that allows you to insert something to create a different future. You can't get people to do things the way you want them to. Trust me. I've tried it and I've failed miserably, repeatedly. I know how to fail really well. Salon participant, brilliant. What questions can we ask to have an awareness at the moment of when to do that? Gary, well, what if you ran, what energy, space, and consciousness can I be to be the warrior I truly be? A warrior knows how to do this stuff. A warrior is willing to do the battle at the right time. She waits for an opening to deliver the blow that's going to create a different scene, a different element of the battle. If you try to fight all the time, you're screaming violently to no avail. And how's that working? Salon participant, not. Battling for versus battling against. Gary, if you start to invite the peace in a man to come out, instead of trying to create him as the person you have to battle with, a different possibility can show up. You can battle against or battle for. Most women, when they have kids, will battle to protect their kids. Is that battle for or battle against? Salon participant, that's a battle against. Gary, yeah. If you were battling for them, you would try to figure out what you could do or say that would give them everything that they require. Salon participant, well, where does ease come into that? Gary, ease is when you're willing to do that kind of battle. Possibilities and choice. Salon participant, what's beyond battle? Gary, the choice. If you're battling for something, you're battling to create a future. You're willing to look at every choice that is available to you in any moment. The difficulty is we've been trained to believe that there are only two choices, and that's not really true. You've been told that if you make the right choice, you will get the result you want, but that's not what it's about. You have to see the possibilities of the choices and how those can create and generate something different. It's very different than trying to create a two-choice option or a three-choice option. So think about that right now. You want to create a future where in 3 years your life is better and more expansive than you ever knew was possible. Now, how many choices and possibilities did you just create by thinking that? Hundreds? Thousands? Millions? Salon participant. Oh yeah, thousands, many. Gary, many, many, many. You just created 100,000 choices right there, and each one of them can be chosen to create a slight variation in the future that you will create. When you start to battle for creating a future, you look at how every choice you make creates a future, and you say, oh, I'm going to take this one instead of that one because that one is creating less future than this one is. And you begin to see the future and what is going to be created. You have to learn to begin this process. It is something you have to learn. It doesn't just automatically happen. If we function from possibility instead of other things, a whole new era opens up for us. Salon participant. How do we do that? Gary, it's not a how. You start with, my job is to be a warrior and to battle for the creation of future. When you start to function from that, you will stop thinking about whether somebody insulted you. You'll say, sorry, that insult doesn't mean a thing. I'll just have to kill you. Okay, bye. Salon participant, can you speak about how battle and choice play together and how that looks pragmatically? Gary, let's say you have $500,000. You have a choice to battle to create the future. So what would you like that future to be? If you try to protect that money and not lose it, are you battling for the future or battling against the future? Salon participant, against. Gary, you have to ask, what choices do I have here that will generate and create the future I'd really like to have? Then you start to see how you can bring that future into existence. Salon participant, okay, that's where the ease comes into it. Conquering. Salon participant, would you please speak about how to conquer in more detail and give some pragmatic examples of how it works? Gary, the first beginning of conquering is to recognize the place where you're the warrior who goes to battle for the creation of a future. If you go to battle for the creation of a future, you will be willing to conquer the man if he's somebody that you want as part of the future or somebody who will create the future for you. I talked with a young lady recently. She's very young and very, very good looking. She was introduced to a slightly older man who was a little paunchy and not perfectly good looking. And she said, oh, I don't know whether I want to go out with him. And I said, well, you know what? Have you been asking for someone who idolizes you? And she said, yes, but he isn't pretty. And I said, a pretty man will never idolize you. He will only want to be idolized. And she said, what? I said, every pretty man in the world wants to be idolized because he thinks that's his due. You want somebody who will idolize you and love you totally. This man is just old enough. He's not pretty enough, not ugly, and he will adore you totally. Consider that as a possibility. Well, she said, okay. I said, you don't have to marry him and have babies with him. All you have to do is recognize he's a step in the direction you want of having someone who adores you. You may introduce you to somebody else who adores you more. Who knows? You have to be willing to look at this in terms of creating a future. Or say you're with a man who's trying to fix you up. Men who are trying to fix you up have decided that once they fix you up, you will be the right person for them. If that's what's happening in your life, you might want to say, thank you so much for what you're willing to do for me. Let's go shopping. Keep him shopping for 6 hours, and that will be the last time he ever tries to do anything for you. 6 hours of pain and suffering for you in order to create 6 hours of pain and suffering to get rid of him. That's conquering the situation. Knowing what you have to do. I would like to have a man seduce me for once in my life. Salon participant. Things have definitely shifted for me since I did levels 2 and 3 several teleclasses with you. I've gone from having no libido to being turned on all the time. I'm constantly thinking about having sex, especially with Gary and Dane and other men who know how to play with a woman in a sexual, sensual way. I'm married and I do not desire to have sex with my husband since he is the forceful and fast kind of man you see in porn. I would like to have a man seduce me for once in my life. Gary, run this. What energy, space, and consciousness can my body and I be to allow us to be seduced and saturated with sex in totality for all eternity? Everything that doesn't allow for that to show up times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Salon participant. How do I teach my husband to be slow, sensual, nurturing, and all that good stuff? It's been a challenge for me to ask for what I would like. Gary, you could get the book Sex is Not a Four-Letter Word, put it in the bathroom, and pretend you're reading it. That way, when he goes to the bathroom, he will pick it up and start to look at it. If he starts spending more and more time in the bathroom, you will soon get what you want. Living for other people. Salon participant. From the time I was growing up until recently, I've been a parent emotionally to my parents. I've tried to protect them and care for them. Gary, until recently? You're still doing it. It's the reason your parents had you. They wanted somebody who would take care of them to make their life real and good. A lot of you don't realize that your parents had you to know that somebody cared about them. They chose you to have someone who would care about them while they were not caring enough about themselves. You were supposed to do it all for them. They couldn't care for you as they were trying to get you to care for them. Everywhere you've been unwilling to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, puck, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Here's a process a bunch of you need to run. It's a result of reading the questions you've sent to me. I want you to run this. What stupidity am I using to create the invention of the requisite and requirement of living from and for and of other people am I choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, puck, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Salon participant. Does this have to do with requiring approval? Gary, no. You think it has to do with requiring approval. If you look for approval, you're not willing to recognize you. It's the recognition of being the warrior who battles for the creation of future. If you start to function from that, you will have a greater sense of yourself than you ever had before. The reversal of manly and womanly roles puts you in a constant state of conflict with what is actually true for you, which means you have to look for approval from somebody else. You have to see whether they see you, because if they see you, maybe you can see you. Except that doesn't really work. Seeing anything is an invention. Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, puck and pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Visual representations and inventions. Salon participant. Can you please explain more about how seeing is an invention? Gary, in our last call, I talked about a time I was watching television. The visual for passion was someone's panties falling to the floor. That was supposed to represent passion. It was not passion. That was panties falling to the floor. We have the point of view that the visual representation of the world is the truth of the world. So what stupidity are you using to create the invention of the visual reality? As the true reality of this reality are you choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, puck and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. You try to see things the way other people visually represent them. Take somebody who's an intellectual in New York City. He will talk He will talk voluminously, like lots, okay? I'm killing that word, about what one line in a book means. He will make all kinds of assumptions about what the author's point of view was. If you look at the line he's talking about, it will be clear 90% of the time what the intellectual came up with was what he was trying to see. It was an invention, not a reality. And that's what we do in our world too. We try to invent something that is not. Salon participant. As a child, I had so much trouble seeing that. Gary, it's because you knew it was an invention, but people kept telling you it was reality. People create inventions as realities. Have you ever noticed that when people talk, it sometimes feels like they're reciting lines out of a movie? They phrase their lines in a way that's not who they are. You know that it's an invented reality for them. It's a visual representation of what they think they're supposed to be, not an awareness of what they are. So what stupidity are you using to create the invention of the visual reality as the truth of this reality, as the only reality you can choose? Are you choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. I recommend that you get smart and recognize the place where you lock into points of view about what you're supposed to do that are inventions, not creations. If you're going to be a warrior to do battle for creation of future, you have to get rid of invention. How much of what you're doing in your life right now with your relationships are inventions? A lot, a little, or megatons? Salon participant, megatons. Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. How much of what you see as problems in these questions are actually inventions? Everything you've done to invent that times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. You have to be willing to see how much of your relationship you've invented as a problem. Are you like the woman who said that she has a challenge asking for what she wants in bed? Are you not willing to lose your husband? If you were willing to lose your husband, would that create a different possibility for you so you could actually ask him for what you want? Apparently, this applies to everyone on the call. Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Salon participant, what is an invention? Gary, invention is this. Look at the TV and watch two people kissing. It's supposed to be about how they care about each other, how they want each other. Is it true or an invention? All thoughts, feelings, emotions, sex, and no sex are invention. Salon participant, so I see everything as an invention. Gary, a whole lot of it is, except when you're actually creating a future. So much of what you've done in your life is an invention. You try to invent who you are. You try to invent your money situation. You try to invent your relationships and how everything is supposed to appear to everybody else. It's about what everything appears to be, not what is. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. And nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. It's all invention. Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Salon participant, thank you for this call, Gary. This part of my reality is like a stale energy, yet there's a lot going on here and a new possibility is opening up. Gary, that's the reason I'm trying to get you to recognize that you're inventing this stuff rather than creating. If you decide you are in love with somebody, is that a truth, a creation, or an invention? Salon participant, invention? Yeah, because it's a thought, a feeling, and an emotion. Creating from choice, possibility, question, and contribution. Salon participant, what would it look like to create then? I don't get it, Gary. You've been creating through invention. You haven't been creating from choice, possibility, question, and contribution. Salon participant. Is it like a generative energy? Gary, when you function from energy, it's generative and creative. Start to generate and create from being a warrior who battles for the creation of future. Literally feel the solidity in the energy of, I am a warrior battling for the creation of a future. There's no doubt in your universe when you say that. I am a warrior battling for the creation of future. All of a sudden, the doubt goes away and you know what to do. It becomes very pragmatic and institutive. As long as I'm heading in this direction, I know where I'm going. Salon participant, how do we be the warrior, healer, and conqueror without and beyond abuse? Gary, you keep looking at what's happening on the planet and the way the males have been creating. And that's a problem because they have to go against the desire for peace to create war. And in order to do that, they create anger, rage, fury, and hate, all of which are distractor implants as real in order to carry out the mission of being the conquerors and destroyers of the world that they think they have to be. And if you're creating from a different place, a place of how do I expand this and create future, you will not be doing destruction, anger, rage, fury, and hate to get there. You'll be doing question, choice, possibility, and contribution. Salon participant. Wow, this is cool. Thank you. Now don't exclude anger. Salon participant. I was listening to a CD where you talk about no exclusion, and you talk about not excluding anger. You say anger is a distractor implant. Now, can you talk more about this, please? Gary, yes. Anger is a distractor implant. The one time anger is real and not a distractor implant is when somebody lies to you. You have to include anger as part of the gig. It's not that you have to include the distractor implant, but you need to be willing to include the anger to the degree that you realize somebody's using it as a distractor implant. If you try to eliminate or exclude the distractor implants, you're trying to see how they're not present instead of seeing when they are present. Salon participant. I have the point of view that I hate getting angry. I get mad that I'm feeling angry, and I'm not sure where to go with that. Gary, well, if you include anger, then anger can be something that flashes, and then you can get over it. Or when it flashes, you can ask, did this person just lie to me? If you get a yes, then the anger goes away. When you suppress anger, it explodes, and that hurts you. It hurts your body, and it makes you upset for having it. From your description, it sounds like you're trying to suppress your anger and not let it happen. So when it does happen, it is a giant explosion, which is not helpful, and it hurts. Salon participant, well, I'm scared of what is going to happen with the anger towards my son if I don't suppress it. Gary, you have to include your anger towards your son too and say, if you do that again, I will stuff your head in the toilet and flush it. I did that with my kid today. He calls me all the time and says, let's get together for a drink. Let's have dinner. He always wants to get together, and he loves me unbelievably because I'm honest with him. I didn't suppress my anger. I expressed it, but didn't explode all over him, which is what many people do. Salon participant. So how do I do that? What do I need to ask before I explode? Gary, what energy, space, and consciousness can I be that would allow me to include my anger in my reality for all eternity? I'm just a naive little girl. Salon participant. I've had something going on for quite some time that I've avoided revealing or discussing. I think I've chosen to be the friendly, joyful, sexually open, encouraging, courageous, and much more thanks to Access Consciousness and you, Gary. It seems like all of this leads men, and sometimes their partners, to misconstrue my intentions, and I perceive the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections. I'm not aware of what is going on. Gary, to be unaware is to be naive. To not receive the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections is a way in which you maintain, I'm just a naive little girl. That would lead you to do things like laughing or giggling at the wrong times, or doing things that you don't want to do, and having people in your life you don't know how to say no to. When you're not aware of what is going on, ask, what stupidity am I using to create the naivete I am choosing? You're going to be a warrior for creation of a future. You're going to have a different point of view show up, and you will not be giggling at stuff to get your way. Who does this belong to? Is it mine? Salon participant. When I'm aware that a man is attracted to me, I get quite uncomfortable. Sometimes I giggle or put up barriers or even flirt back so he will feel bad or uncomfortable. Gary, have you ever asked who does this belong to? Men are the most insecure people on the planet, ladies. If you're feeling insecure, there is a 99% chance that it is a man's point of view. Very few men have total security in themselves. Those who do are highly intimidating to everyone. If you're intimidated by people, it's probably because they're comfortable in their own skin. And if you're not feeling comfortable in your skin, it is because you're aware, not because you're having a problem. I love you, and you have to get over this. Salon participant. Well, somewhere I've bought everyone's projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections as real. I've made myself wrong, blamed myself, gotten paralyzed, and put up barriers. I would like to get some clarity with all of this. Gary, wow, what a nice invention. How many of you are inventing your ways of dealing with men, women, and relationships? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyond. You have to get clear on the fact that 99,000% of this stuff doesn't belong to you. You have to start asking the question, is this mine? When you do, you're going to find out that none of it is yours. The insecurity and all that stuff doesn't belong to you. Not wanting to be rejected doesn't belong to you. Please get that this is not yours, sweet thing. You don't have those points of view. Exclusive relationships. Salon participant. Thank you for these calls. I get that it's really okay just to have a lover. He doesn't have to fulfill everything. And now I have a really amazing life going on. Gary. Yeah, you have to get the awareness that you don't need to have one person fulfill everything you desire. Would an infinite being only have one person in their life? The whole idea of exclusive relationships is to exclude everybody except the one. And when you do that, everybody includes you more often than not. You start down the trail of excluding you instead of recognizing, okay, I'm including me in this. You don't ask, what would I really like to have? What would it take to make my life fun? You don't say, just for me, just for fun. Never tell anyone. Being versus doing. Salon participant. I need some clarification about being versus doing. I think I'm trying to be successful by doing stuff, but I'm feeling inadequate, unsuccessful, and attached to an outcome. What's going on? Can you help me with a clearing I can run? Gary, what stupidity am I using to create invention by the doing I am choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Did you get that? You're inventing by doing, as though if you do, you're actually going to create, which isn't so. Do we come back to work things out? Salon participant. I've heard that we often reincarnate again and again to be with certain people. What is your awareness around this idea? Would we be doing this out of a preference, as well as taking an opportunity to let go of limitations we have around another person? Gary, no. Usually you pick somebody you have a limitation around so that you can kill them in this lifetime. If you're highly attracted to somebody or you have a sense of passion with somebody, usually that passion is based on the idea that in this lifetime, you get to kill them or they get to kill you. So, do we come back to work things out? Apparently not. When I was in my metaphysical phase, they told me you choose people so you can let go of your limitations. But I've not found that to be true so far. When you have a volatile relationship with somebody, it's because you've been killing each other back and forth for centuries. You're looking for whose turn it is this time. Love at first sight. Salon participant. Does love at first sight exist? Gary. Yes, because you have so many oaths, vows, fealties, communalties, and commitments from other lifetimes that when you run into somebody that you committed to in another lifetime, you suddenly recall all of that. It's not the person's physical form that creates that response, it's their energetic form. You suddenly become enamored of the person. So all the oaths, vows, fealties, communalties, commitments, and swearings you have to anyone across any lifetime, from any lifetime that still exists, will you destroy and uncreate all of them? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pock, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. I'm going to read that one again. All the oaths, vows, fealties, communalties, commitments, and swearings you have to anyone across any lifetime, from any lifetime that still exists, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. The good news is you guys have been doing a lot of that stuff. Bad news is you've been doing a lot of that stuff. Labels limit possibilities. Salon participant. I did an experiment once where for one day I decided not to think of my boyfriend as my boyfriend, but just as a good friend. On that day, I noticed my behavior towards him was different. The interaction between us was less controlling and more playful. I suspect that has something to do with the meaning of the word boyfriend. Can you speak to that? Are meanings of the words and labels really that powerful? Gary, yeah. Every time you put a label on what someone is to you, you cannot open the door to possibilities greater than that label. You limit the possibilities with every label you put on someone. That's why I ask people to call the person they like their insignificant other, not their significant other. If that person is your insignificant other, then there are more possibilities. If he or she is your significant other, you have to make it important, significant, controlling, and not fun at all. Everything you've done to invent those as really important things will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Can you actually control anything? Salon participant, can you speak about the idea of control? Is it an energy or a mental idea? I get that I'm stuck in both polarities, controlling and not controlling, and I'm struggling to know when to control and when to let go. I'm making the idea of control more potent for me. Oh, I'm making the idea of control more potent than me. Gary, control is mostly an invention. Would a conscious relationship have any control in it? No. Can you actually control anything? No. Try to control the energy in the room. Can you? No. Why? Because the energy is not controllable. Is your partner energy? Yes. If you try to make him controllable, how much contraction of his reality do you have to put into existence? How much contraction of his whole life, living and body, do you have to do to him to control those things? A lot, a little, or too much? Too much. Everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, puck, pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Love itself is an invention. Salon participant, so what's beyond the invention of being in love? Gary, love itself is an invention. This is probably one of the hardest things for people to get. People say, that person loves you. Does he or she love you, or does he or she desire something from you, or what? Your parents love you. Do your father and mother love you the same? No, it's totally different. Is one or the other love, or are they all inventions of what love is? Salon participant, invention. Gary, yes, love is invention. Do you have more gratitude for your mom or dad? Salon participant, for my mom, for giving birth to me, and for my dad, because I get along with him better. Gary, you've gratitude for your dad, and you tolerate your mother. Salon participant, exactly, thank you. Gary, you have to call it like it is, folks. If you're tolerating your mother, that's fine. If you're in gratitude for somebody, that is different. Gratitude has no judgment. Love does. That's the reason I say love is an invention. If it was true loving, it would not have judgment. True loving is an ongoing expression of possibility. Do you get the difference? Salon participant, is it advantageous to creating a different future if we have a conscious relationship with all beings? Gary, if you're willing to create your reality, you will have a different relationship with every person you come in contact with. You will be more open to greater possibilities than other people. Does that mean they will receive what you have to say? No. Will they receive you? No. Does that mean we're going to change the humanoid race on the planet? Well, with a little bit of luck, yeah. Just keep liking yourself, because you're the one who will create possibilities. Every relationship is an invention. Salon participant, aren't relationships just another invention? Gary, yes, every relationship is an invention. Relationship as created here is an invention. Salon participant, everywhere I function from being in sync with a relationship seems to be an invention. I don't get how to function outside of that, and I end up choosing not to go there at all because I have an awareness that it's stupid. Gary, is that an awareness or a conclusion? Salon participant, I don't know. I don't have that clarity. Gary, it's pretty much a conclusion. Well, what if you asked a question? Would this one work out? Would this be fun or interesting to me? Would this be something that would create and generate more in my life? If you start to function from the place of being a warrior who's going to battle for creating future, you will see, oh, I'm not choosing to be with this person because that would not be creating a future that has contribution to me or where I can be the contribution that I want to be. Get the difference? Salon participant. I do. Do I need to do some processing there to clear the struggle I have around relationship? Gary, truth. Do you really want a relationship? Salon participant. No. Gary, so no problem. Salon participant. But during these calls, all everybody talks about is relationships, not about anything else. That's what everybody does. Gary, not everything. Haven't I been telling you that your real job is creating a future? Salon participant. Yeah, that's cool. Gary, I am trying to get you to the awareness of what you really came here to do and what is really possible for you. If you want a relationship, I'll do what I can to help you get that too. But I also want all of you who don't desire, need, or want a relationship to know that you don't have to do relationship. It's just a choice. And that's really the way all of us have to function. A warrior is willing to do whatever it takes to win the battle. Salon participant. I have a question about being a warrior. I think of warriors as beings who do it all on their own. When I look at creating and generating a future that would work for me, more and more I seem to be collaborating with other people. It's like our futures overlap. What is that about? Can you talk about being a warrior and collaborating? Gary, a warrior is willing to do whatever it takes to win the battle. If it means standing back to back with somebody against unbelievable odds, you will do that. If it means charging ahead, you will do that. When you are really being a warrior, you will plow the ground if that's going to create a future you need. You will use your sword to plant. You will use your weapons to create barricades against invaders. You will do whatever it takes. A warrior doesn't just chop, bend, kill, and mutilate. A warrior is one who can do whatever it takes to get where she is going. That's why I keep trying to tell you, ladies, to recognize you are warriors, because you will do what it takes to get going. You are warriors because you will do what it takes to get going. You don't hesitate to do that unless you go into projection, expectation, rejection, separation, judgment, or a place where you feel you're wrong. You come out of that and realize, I am a warrior who's going to battle to create for future. Interesting point of view. When you have an awareness of self, you stand like a rock in a stream. Polarity comes at you, goes around you, and you are interesting point of view. When you're willing to recognize where you stand in the stream of things, you are a warrior battling for the creation of future. There's a solidity in that. There's no stagnation. Most solidity becomes stagnation. If you say, I'm a fighter, it becomes a stagnant position and you must fight everyone all the time to prove that you're right. Is that a place you want to live? When your interesting point of view, all the polarity, craziness, and inventions swirl around you, yet have no effect on you because you know where you're going. From this space, you can battle for the creation of future. Salon participant, thank you so much for this call, Gary. And thank you to all the amazing women on this call. For the first time, I feel a sense of peace between men and women and my relationship with them in general. There used to be such anger and hatred and mistrust about relationship between people, but now, with this call, it doesn't even matter. I can handle it. Gary, yes, that's the reason I did this call. I was looking to create that, to get you to create your reality. It will give you the sense of peace that creates possibility and choices. Thank you, ladies. That concludes chapter 8.